Hello, everyone, and welcome to today's Fexa and Friends Network show, The Power of AI, Machine Learning, and Algorithms in the Facility Management World. We're going to give everyone just another 30 seconds or so to log in and access the program before we get started. We had a lot of registrations for today's program. So we're going to give just a few more moments for people to continue to log in. And we'll get started. Okay, we're going to go ahead and get started. It's a couple minutes after the hour. I want to welcome everyone to today's Fexa and Friends Network show. I want to thank you for joining us and sharing a little bit of your day with us. We hope you are able to take something away from this and every Fexa Network presentation that you are able to use, or at least expand your knowledge base in your professional life. That's really why we're here. I'm Diana Hart, the host of the Fexa and Friends Network. The purpose of the Fexa Network is to be a place to offer education, best practices, and trend opinions to the multi-site facilities and service provider communities. If you have a topic that you would like to see on future Fexa Network shows, or if you would like to be an educator yourself, drop me a line at fexafriendsnetwork@fexa.io. We hope you continue to support this growing effort to educate and uplevel the facilities management community by showing up and engaging with our topics. And just so you know, if you have any questions during the program, even though everyone is muted, you are still free to type your questions into our chat menu, our chat capabilities during this webinar at any time by just typing in your questions there. And we will get to your questions, or as many as we can, at the end of the program. A quick note about Fexa, this program's primary sponsor. For those of you who don't know Fexa, we create smart, flexible, and easy-to-use facility management software for multi-site companies. Fexa transforms business processes into automations and workflows. And we find efficiencies that save time and resources. For more information about Fexa and to request a demo, hop on over to fexa.io when you have a chance. And now we're going to turn to today's topic, the power of AI, machine learning, and algorithms in the facility management world. And I want to welcome my guest expert, Simone Sams from InTouch. Simone has more than 20 years of experience in data research and analysis, which brings enterprise-level solutions to market. Welcome to the show, Simone.
Thanks for having me. Excited to be here.
Awesome. And as an elite member of my co-hosting squad, you have been bequeathed with a Magic Fexa Network mug. You know, Simone, all of the calories magically evaporate from everything you drink from that mug. So clink, good morning or early afternoon for those of you on the East Coast.
I'll be using it a lot if the calories disappear from anything I drink out of it.
It's a proven fact, and we know we're all about facts here at the Fexa Network. So, you know, as we're talking about the topic of AI, it occurs to me that there's sort of an elephant in the room here when we talk about AI and machine learning, and that is, for a lot of people, the subject does cause a bit of intimidation, especially in the workforce, because sometimes technology, frankly, displaces people in the workforce, or it comes at us just so rapidly that it's very difficult to change and adapt. And AI is in the news almost every day. Even Congress is currently having meetings about it. Large technology companies are even getting together to discuss the proper application of AI. And there's even discussion around regulating it right now. I just think we're at a place where we might know some of its implications, but there's far more that we don't know than we actually do. So this topic is very top of mind for everyone involved in the workplace right now. There are conferences that are devoted to the topic of AI and even the topic of AI in the built environment. So before we go any further, and to clear up any confusion about what exactly we're referring to when we think about AI, machine language, and some of these other acronyms, it would be great if you wouldn't mind just taking out a minute of time to define some of these terms so that as we move forward in our presentation today, we know exactly what they mean.
Perfect. Yeah. So let's talk about, and I think one of the common questions that I get from my team at NTouch is, what is the difference between AI and ML and how are they related to each other? So let's start off talking about that. So AI is pretty much just what it sounds like. It's the practice of getting machines to mimic human intelligence to perform tasks. So most of you have probably interacted with AI, even if you don't realize it. Voice assistants like Siri and Alexa are founded on AI technology, as are customer service chatbots, which I'm sure we've all interacted with at some point. Machine learning is a tool within the AI toolbox. So machine learning algorithms are designed to mimic how humans learn from experience. So for example, just like how we get better at recognizing images like cats after seeing many cat pictures, ML algorithms can improve their ability to recognize patterns and make predictions after being exposed to relevant data. So now, as we all know, there's IoT sensors. We've all got our iPhones attached to us. There's devices everywhere, and all of these devices are creating massive amounts of data. So this unmanageable, huge volume and complexity of this data, and by unmanageable, I mean unmanageable by humans, that's now being generated has increased the potential of machine learning as well as the need for it. I was talking to one of my developers this morning, and just here at NTouch with the devices that we have in the field, we process about 3 billion data points a day. That is nuts. And it really truly is unmanageable for a human to be able to comb through all of that data and find the important patterns and things that we should be looking at, right? So again, just to kind of bring that full circle. So AI is the practice of getting machines to mimic human intelligence, and machine learning is the algorithms that we build to help those systems learn how to mimic things that humans can do. So machine learning is one of the key technologies that help us achieve AI, but AI also involves other techniques that you guys may have heard of, and we're going to talk about throughout our time this morning. Natural language processing is a big one, speech recognition that I'm sure we're all familiar with, and even robotics. So those are all sort of tools in the AI toolbox.
Okay, yeah, that completely makes sense. That AI is sort of an overarching understanding of all of these technologies that are necessary in order to make AI work in many different applications. So thank you for that. That definitely makes sense. So right now, since we're talking specifically about the facility management space or applications of AI, what are some of the key challenges that you currently see facility managers in their day-to-day roles facing in terms of operations, and how do you see AI addressing some of these challenges directly?
Yeah, so at NTouch, we deal with medium to large size, multi-site retail operators. And those property managers and facility managers are dealing with diverse and demanding set of tasks that you guys are dealing with every single day, from preventative maintenance, repairs, emergency response to different situations that are happening, managing space optimization, tenant engagement, budget constraints. You guys know all this stuff. You're dealing with it every day. And there's a lot of areas where AI and ML can help just even day-to-day management of these things, and then really get into things like moving to a proactive maintenance strategy versus reactive, how you guys manage your data. Much of the data that you guys are dealing with are in data silos. How do we bring all that data together and use AI to bring to the surface the things that you guys need to be looking at so that you're not having to analyze all of that data, giving you real-time visibility into system performance. So being able to log into a dashboard and see exactly what all of your assets are doing without you guys having to dig for that. That's just time that you're having to spend to do that. So using AI to bubble the most important things up to the surface so that you can just glance at those things. And resource allocation. So all of these things here that we can do with AI in my world, or to give you guys, the facility managers, time back to do the things that you're really good at, the creative problem solving, the strategic plans, right? Let AI and ML do the easy stuff, give you the data points that you need to look at to go build those strategic plans, but not having you guys spend time on those types of things. So I think one of the biggest areas is, as I touched on, is shifting from reactive responses to proactive. Having an AI ML model analyzing parts of your data allows those things to bubble up to the surface, to help you highlight those things that need to be fixed and addressed versus you guys having to look at them. With the rise of sensors, now there's IoT sensors for everything, advanced software. We're creating huge amounts of data, as I mentioned. So any tools that we can give you guys and to put in place to help you analyze all of that data is where AI really comes in, to help facility managers day to day.
So a follow-up question to that, in my mind, would be the tools that are purchased or provided. Do they continue to learn about specific applications, say specific buildings or facilities after they are installed and they are working for a period of time within an application? Do they sort of learn additional things about the nuances of a particular facility, call it whether it's climate related or weather related or asset related? Are they continuing to build sort of their own algorithms, or are they able to be configured additionally for specific purposes?
Yeah, so I think the great thing is once we get all of the, once you outfit your building, your assets with sensors, and we start to bring data into, for example, at NTouch into our EMS platform, then that's where we're really able to go in and start fine tuning, whether it's, your heating and cooling strategies, whether it's looking at bringing in data from how space is being utilized or occupation data to start adapting the way that we manage lighting or different things like that, or pre-cooling, based on all of that data that we're getting back. So I think about these models as like living, breathing organisms. They're constantly being tuned and changed and adjusted. And the more data points that we get, right? So if you bring in more data points, you start adding, again, talking about occupancy sensors or anything with indoor air quality, things like that, and we start bringing that data into our model, then we can continue to fine tune it, and our strategies and how we manage the buildings just gets even smarter. So the more data that we feed in there, similar to our brains, right? The more data that we learn, the more data that we give our brains to analyze, the better that strategy is going to become over time.
Okay. That makes sense. So it's really interesting to think about AI as it is underpinned by machine learning as really an evolving technology and something that supports people and doesn't necessarily displace them, but we have to adapt to these technologies in order to stay relevant also in our own careers, in our own jobs, and in our own way that we deliver solutions to be more and more effective as time goes on. Because this isn't, you can't put the genie back in the bottle. Things are not going to go back to the way that they were.
That's very true. I heard somebody say this very early on when I started looking into this type of technology, and I've kind of adopted it, which is I don't think that AI is going to take my job, but I do think that somebody who uses AI to their benefit every day might take my job. So what I want to do is look at all of the ways that AI can help me, and not just, we're talking about this from a facilities HVAC asset perspective, but I think as employees, we need to look at it as, how else can I use AI in my day to day to make my life easier, to make to give me more space. I think we're all in situations, we're all working for companies right now where we're trying to do more with less. And so I'm always looking for, sometimes I feel like I'm cheating a little bit, like they're shortcuts, but I'm always looking for things that can help me in my day to day to free up brain space, right? So the tasks that are repetitive, they're things that I'm, kind of my day to day. What tools can I use to automate some of those processes and make that easier, so that I have more brain space to do the really fun, creative parts of my job that are actually what I really love. And so for me, some of that is, how can I use AI? If I need to build a deck for something, can I use Chat GPT to build a structure for me that gets me 50% of the way there, where then I can fill in with all of my experience that I have across multiple different sectors to build that strategy, right? And AI is never going to be able to do all of that. They don't have the same lived experience that we do. And so there's components of AI, there's parts of what we do as humans that AI will never be able to do, right? And so we've got to think about that and say, okay, so let me make time for the things that are my strengths, and let's use AI to help me with the things that tend to take me a long time, that I don't love doing, that shouldn't take me a long time. And I'll give you an example really quickly of one that we used at NTouch. We're a small company, right? And so again, back with that, doing more with less, we have to find ways to get really creative to support our customers. And one of the things that we're working on initiative is building out how-to guides. And I came across via a newsletter that I get called "There's an AI for That," which is great. It comes out a couple times a week, and it's just ideas on different AI tools that are out there and how they can help you. And I actually found one, and after I start searching, by the way, you'll be shocked at, you'll start to get all these ads in your Instagram for great AI tools that you might be able to use. And I started getting ads for a tool that helps to build how-to guides. And this tool lets you do a screenshot of the process that you want to build a how-to guide. So I can go into my product and say, here's how you change a schedule on your thermostat. We record that, and this tool then goes and builds with screenshots a how-to guide. So it doesn't mean we don't have to go back and adjust some of the wording, put it on our template, things like that, but it's getting our support team probably 80% of the way. And for a really small team, that means that we can put out more content for our customer much faster. So those are
Amazing.
the types of things that we're looking for to support our businesses to again, be able to support what we're doing.
Right. And what occurs to me is that from a career standpoint and from a business standpoint, everyone needs to focus on the things that AI can't do or can't do well.
Yep.
And those
Exactly.
are the things that we need to focus and develop on in our personal and professional development.
Yeah, absolutely.
To stay ahead of that curve.
Yep.
So that's a great segue to my next question, in terms of examples of how we hear about smart buildings, and we hear about IoT and AI powered sensors, and how they're being used to enhance facility management maintenance processes. So can you give us some examples or talk about how these smart buildings and these sensors are being used by AI to work better for customers and better for maintenance teams and facilities managers?
Yeah, so AI sensors and IoT devices specifically can do all sorts of things in the built environment. So they can monitor health, equipment health, occupancy levels, environmental conditions in real time. So for instance, smart thermostats can adjust heating and cooling based on occupancy, which helps to lead to energy savings. the more sensors that we have, the more data that we can get. So we talked about some of the things that they can monitor. This gives facility managers an unprecedented visibility into their property's condition, again, at real time. So we can start to detect anomalies, identify potential issues, and make data-driven decisions. So I think one of the biggest areas that we're seeing improvements, and I talked about this a little bit up front, but moving from a reactive to proactive maintenance strategy is by using AI and sensors, predictive maintenance. I think this is probably one that almost everybody that's here has probably heard about, predictive maintenance and what AI can do in that area. So it can help improve reliability, efficiency of critical equipment, by transforming the maintenance practices, again, from reactive to a scheduled approach or data-driven approach. And there's a few different ways it can do that, but we've got models that can help with early fault detection. So these algorithms can continuously monitor equipment in real time. They collect data from all these sensors. The algorithms detect anomalies and deviations from the normal conditions that we would typically see. And these anomalies can help us indicate that there's an impending failure of some sort. So by catching these early, maintenance teams can address these and escalate before they escalate into costly breakdowns. This helps to reduce downtime and impact to your tenants. You can start doing that maintenance at certain times and days when you know it's not going to impact tenants or people in your retail space. Also helping to bring the cost down, right? The cost of a scheduled visit is much less than an emergency visit. So all these models can help us look at that. They can get you guys on an optimized maintenance schedule. So again, looking at equipment condition and usage patterns and other things that when we've got all these data factors and we've got a model that can look at all of this, because again, a human cannot look at all of this data, we can start performing maintenance precisely when it's needed versus waiting too long or doing it at a time when it's unnecessary. And all of these things help to prolong the lifespan of the equipment, because if the equipment is operating, at the optimal level, you're going to need less maintenance on that, less maintenance on that unit. Leads to fewer capital expenditures on replacements and upgrades. And then I think because it's the business that we're in here at NTouch, is also increased energy efficiency, which I think we're all really aware of right now. How can we reduce our impact on the environment? And we know that well-maintained equipment operates more efficiently. So these AI systems can help identify these opportunities for not only the proactive maintenance to keep the equipment in top performance, but also help us to optimize energy usage, which leads to energy savings.
Right. Yeah, perfect. Totally makes sense. So what role does data analytics and machine learning play in optimizing energy consumption? I think that's something that a lot of people are looking at AI to help them do, especially with so much legislation now coming out to monitor and measure energy consumption around environmental reporting requirements. And I think that AI is definitely on task to play a really critical role there. So what can you talk about AI in terms of sustainability efforts within organizations, especially, public organizations and those that have to report against those things?
Yeah, definitely. So again, because of all the data that we're getting back, we're able to analyze energy consumption patterns. We can identify inefficiencies and then build models that can help suggest optimal energy usage. So for instance, AI can optimize HVAC systems to ensure optimal temperature and humidity levels, which help reduce consumption, improve indoor air quality. Having the data that an AI-equipped EMS tool provides helps you understand the performance of the building system. So for example, in the summer, cooling demands in an office or a retail space can be the difference between setting a new costly demand peak charge and staying underneath that. So for example, if we know, or our system, we're in the process right now at NTouch, we're building out a model to bring weather data into our into the model that we use when we're looking at how we adjust and how we build strategies for the right heating and cooling within a building. So and I'll use a summer as an example, but if we're in a situation where it's going to be, a lot of us just were under this heat dome this summer, I think for about a month, it was pretty brutal. But what we can do is we can look at what the temperature is going to be like over the next couple of days. We can also, with that, not only look at weather, but bring in historic occupancy data, and even looking at the past performance of the HVAC unit. So if we know it's going to be 110 at 2 o'clock, what we can do is start pre-cooling that space when energy is less expensive. So we start pre-cooling that. No human intervention. The building, the HVAC unit knows what to do. It gets that information from the EMS system that says, hey, we know it's going to be hot today. We know because of past performance about how long it takes for this specific unit to get to that temperature. So it's all very data driven as to when that unit's going to start to do that pre-cooling. If a building's used a pre-cooling strategy in the past, the algorithm could even look at that to help improve how they do the pre-cooling, right? So again, looking at historic behavior on specific units to make decisions about when to start or even when to stop, based on occupancy and vacancy schedules in the evening. So those are types of things that models can help us do versus a human having to sit there each day and look at, okay, what's happening today? What strategy do I need to set? We can let the building do that. And with our tool, what we're doing is we're always going to have a little bit of human oversight, right? So we've built tools into our portal when this model, when we've released this model, where we're going to come and tell you, hey, this is what we're seeing over the next couple of days. We're seeing this rise in temperature. Here's a strategy that we would like to employ, and you can accept that or decline it. So again, there's where that human element still comes in, but all the hard work of analyzing it and figuring out what the building needs to do, we've got the models to do that for us. So I think that's a really good example. The other one that I would use is when you talk about space utilization or occupancy. So another example I would give is a theater where we can start to pull in ticket sales, we can start to pull in occupancy, we can start to see what's happening for that day of showings, right? Do we need to pre-cool that theater? Is it going to be full? Is it a matinee on a Wednesday and there's only, 5 people in the theater? We're going to maybe not cool that theater quite as much. So not only is your guest going to be more comfortable, but you're going to save energy and ultimately then again reduce that environmental footprint. So all of those things kind of go hand in hand as far as reducing the energy expenditure, optimizing the strategies, helping our clients hit their sustainability goals.
Yeah. So do the assets themselves, the HVAC systems and other assets that would be involved in the management of the environmental experience for everyone, do they have to be especially wired in any way in order for this to work, or do they have to be new and specially configured for this to work, or can older systems and systems that have been installed for a period of time also be available to be maintained and run by these artificial intelligence?
Yeah, so old systems and new systems. There's different ways to talk to the systems.
Okay.
Again, here at NTouch, we've got some protocols that we've put in place where we can actually work with our clients if they have older systems that are already in place. There's some communication protocols that we can use to communicate to those systems.
Okay.
So whether it's new and you're putting in new equipment that is specifically our equipment or somebody else's, there are ways that we can communicate with that. It doesn't always mean that as a facility manager that you have to do a rip and replace and that you need to go back and pull everything out and start over. There's absolutely ways that we can work with older systems and that companies like us can work with older systems.
Okay.
Yeah.
What about things like chatbots, virtual assistants, things like that? Can those improve communications and streamline requests?
Yeah, so I think this is another,
ways?
I think kind of shifting away from just like the HVAC and building management. I think there's some other AI tools and ML tools that can help facility managers and sort of all of us day to day and all of our businesses day to day as to how we operate. So again, back to that idea that I talked about where I want to free up my time and my customers' time to focus on what's most important to them, which is their customer, and where a human interaction is required. So let's look at some areas where we can use ML to help streamline some of those communications. You touched on chatbots. That's a big one right now, is chatbots, and most of those use what we call natural language processing. So that's where you're talking to them and it feels like it's a human behind their talking. So NLP is a huge area when we talk about like where we're going in the future. And for me personally, like what I'm really excited about, it's things that we want to bring into our system, more natural language processing. So we've got a lot of stuff that's built around automation in our world, which is great, right? Which means, hey, a work order comes in, the system should do this, right? You get a too hot work order, we can lower the temperature. That's automation. Now we need to start bringing in natural language processing. So, you know, what else is in that work order, for example? So, and I'll have an example from a couple of weeks ago where this happened. We had a customer enter a work order, and we have some integrations with some work order providers such as Fexa, and they entered a too hot work order, and our system, because right now we're running just on automation, was like, oh, it's too hot, lower the temp by 1 degree. That's what our rules are. And well, then when we went back and looked at it after the fact, in the work order, the person that opened it had said, we heard a loud boom and everything stopped working. Well, there's a perfect example where when you look at automation, it says too hot, customer said it's too hot in here, I'm going to lower the temperature. It doesn't have the brain to process the piece that says, hold on a second, they said they heard a boom and now nothing's working. Something else is going on here. There's a perfect example where that added layer of natural language processing now comes in and really starts to make that smarter and makes our processes that we've built even smarter. So same kind of thing with chatbots. I think there's a huge opportunity there. You know, for those that have to deal with tenants, can you streamline some of that communication that's coming in through chatbots? Can we make that more personalized because we're layering AI into those chatbots? So I think that's a really great example. Language support, multilingual. So using AI and chatbots for multilingual communication. If you don't have somebody on the team that maybe speaks Spanish or French and you're getting requests in foreign languages, that's a great area where that can come in and provide some support and help for people. The virtual assistant piece I think is really interesting. I haven't played around with it yet. I did actually, I think in one of my newsletters this week, and one of my coworkers that I tend to share a lot of tips and tricks as far as AI, we kind of have we're always sharing things with each other when we find things that we think might be helpful. But he sent me one this week on virtual assistants and how to create a schedule. So you can literally go in and put in, here's what my week looks like, here's the meetings that I have to help you optimize time. Reading a lot of articles that, they think everybody will have a virtual AI assistant at some point. So I haven't done a ton of research on that one, but I'm kind of excited to start playing around with that because, I mean, who wouldn't love to have an assistant, right? So,
well, yeah, here at Fexa, during most of our internal Zoom meetings, we do use AI note takers.
Oh yeah, we do too.
They are fantastic because
Yeah.
they'll summarize the meeting and they'll talk about what the outcomes are and who is assigned to what task and email the notes to everyone. It's fantastic.
Yeah, those are, I would say for companies, that is a really good tool to look into, because it really allows you, again, to focus on the call and not be so worried about writing everything down and then be able to get that summary after the fact.
Right. Yeah.
The other one I want to call out real quick in the retail space that I think is really interesting too is on the video side. So using AI with video, so using that to see kind of comings and goings, using some AI detection in there to look at suspicious activity. It can sort of analyze behavior again, where you don't have to have a human sitting there and alert you to things. Really cool area on the retail side that I think is going to get interesting is using AI in the video to look at dwell and graze time. So when you start talking about product placement in the retail environment, when you can start looking at how are people moving throughout the store and using AI to do that. Back in the day,
Oh,
I worked
yeah.
for a company where we would do studies on the way people move through stores, and we would have to take footage and then analyze that, and people would have to sit and actually watch it, or we would employ some different beacon technology in the store to track how they were going around. Now being able to use cameras and then having AI to analyze how people are moving through the store, what are they looking at, what's drawing their attention, that kind of stuff is really going to change, I think, the landscape of retail, the retail environment.
100% makes all the sense in the world. Fascinating,
Yep.
fascinating data. So, with all of that in mind, what do you see in terms of looking into the future, the emerging AI technologies and trends that will have the greatest impact down the road on facility management? So, if you could look into your little crystal ball over there, what might you see?
I think using AI for energy management is going to be a huge, is going to be big in our space, and being able to bring in as many data points as we can get. I think as sensors become easier to install, they become cheaper. Anything we put a sensor on, we can measure, right? So the more sensors that we get out there, the more data that we get back. It's kind of like the possibilities are infinite, right? What can we do? It's just about what data can we get. It's all about the data. And so I think that's going to be huge. I think using that to plan energy strategies for buildings to reduce energy expenditures, and for companies to be able to hit their sustainability goals. As you mentioned, there's a lot going on in that space right now around legislation. I think we're all kind of waiting to see what's going to come out of that. I think employing AI strategies to help with that is going to be huge. Natural language processing, I'm really excited about, again, in our space, because I think there's some things that we're using automation for, robotics for, but adding that next level of natural language processing is going to get us closer to that, is going to get us closer to a little bit of the human side of things that right now some of the AI can't distinguish between. And I think that's really going to help us. AR and virtual reality, I know you and I spoke about that. I think this is still kind of, there's a lot going on with AR and VR and kind of how that's going to shake out. But I see ways that it can assist in facility planning, maintenance, training, using AR glasses to access maintenance instructions and visualize equipment layouts, improving efficiency. I think there's a lot of opportunity there that's still to be explored. So I think those are probably the three biggest ones that I see right now. I think there's probably going to be stuff that we don't even know about yet, that'll pop up as well. But those are the three biggest areas that I see AI still continuing to help us make big strides in this industry.
Yeah, makes sense. I mean, it's exciting to think about what's coming down the pike and how things are going to change.
Yep.
And it's coming so quickly that it's hard to foresee. And I think the key for all of us is to be open and to be adaptable and to be always learning. We just can't stop being students and self-educating.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, yeah,
Yeah.
right.
And I think I would say to anybody who, as you start dabbling in it, start playing around with Chat GPT or Bard or whatever your AI or, chat tool of choice is, right? And start seeing what it can do. I mean, you'd be shocked at the things that you can ask it. And again, just to help you structure the way that you're building presentations, the way that you're explaining things to people. it does so much to help get us, like I said, 50 or 60% of the way to a task. And then we just get to apply our creativity and critical thinking on top of the structure that it provides. And then the other thing I would say is look for areas in your regular life, maybe not your work life too, where you've got tools that might be using AI. For me, my first introduction really personally was through I'm an avid cyclist, was through a training tool that I use, and they use AI coaching. And I'm all about betas, and I was like, sign me up. I want to see how you guys are doing this. And I've watched how they've done it, how they've tuned their models, and it's really fascinating. So find things, whatever you're interested in. There you probably got tools in your on your phone or things that you're doing that are using AI that you might not even know about. And like you said, get curious about what they're doing and how they're doing it, and how they're using AI, and think about how you can use that in your day-to-day life and work experience.
100%. And just to comment on ChatGPT real quick, the thing I had to learn and am still learning is how to craft the prompts.
Yeah.
So it's useful, and that in and of itself is a little bit of a task that takes a little bit of education.
Yeah. I found
But
a
once you get
tool
that
that
figured
literally
out,
helps you build prompts.
build prompts, right?
Yeah.
So you
Yeah.
can get what you need, but
Yep.
it's powerful and a little bit scary. but absolutely fascinating.
Yep.
And we'll see where the future takes us. So
Yep.
anyway, we are getting well past the 30-minute mark where we're trying to aim for, and pretty much everything that has come in really has been covered more or less in everything that we have talked about. And I am so grateful that you have been here on the network show. Absolutely fascinating topic. And I think it gives all of us something to think about, especially in the facility management space, in terms of where we're going and what is currently available and out there. And hopefully everyone's imaginations are running or kickstarted, or maybe they see where they're already using some things, and yet where things can grow to in the near future in order to find optimizations, to drive out costs, to save money, to build efficiencies, and to really make what they're doing better, and to do a better job and to deliver better results for their organization. So I want to thank you again for being here. And for everyone who has joined us and who has stuck with us for this 40 minutes of time, I appreciate it. I will be emailing everyone a link of this recording, along with a couple of resources that Simone has mentioned that might be good for everyone to take a look at when they get a chance. This recording and all Fexa Network recordings will be available on the Fexa YouTube channel. They will also be posted on the Fexa Network website page, and also on our resource library. So be on the lookout for invitations for future Fexa Network programming, and we look forward to seeing you here again soon in the future. Thank you, everyone, and have a great day.